Hey, how are you? Give me a sec. Hello, how are you? I am ARTE and welcome to this third episode of Analyzing Fiction, where we'll be talking about The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis, that I definitely was not just reading. Whatever you saw there, it was your imagination. We can now move forward. Let's begin with these two guys here. They are available on Amazon and on Amazon in digital and physical format. Physical depends on the situation because of the pandemic. It's all crazy and nuts all over there. I'm looking at that right now. But anyway, yeah, let's begin talking about the book with the P.A.O, the Possible Smell Addiction. Its acronym is in Spanish, and let's begin. It's a holy moly guacamole, this book smells good. It's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be a 10. Yeah, it's gonna be a 10. It's a great book. And now, let's begin talking about our author here, C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was born in 1898 in, I believe, in Ireland, and he was always a very interested in fantasy boy. He was always very interested in fantasy and imagination and creating his own stories, and he used to play a lot with his brother. C.S. Lewis was also very funny guy. He always called himself Jack instead of Clive, and eventually his whole family came to call him Jack. However, he didn't quite like his Christian faith and eventually walked away from it. He graduated from Oxford on philosophy and literature, and eventually joined the group known as the Inklings, where his brother and other authors such as the great J.R.R. Tolkien were members of. So he joined them, and thanks to Tolkien and other members of the group, he re-embraced his Christian faith to a degree that would modify his whole life from then on. So C.S. Lewis, he began to write many things that had to do with Christianity, that tackled Catholic themes, and he also was a professor at Oxford. So he and Tolkien carried out very similar lives. However, C.S. Lewis, you could say he was a lot more prolific in his writing, because he wrote various books that were theologic books on theology that today are very widely respected by the different people. And then he published other books, mainly the Space Trilogy and the Chronicles of Narnia, which he began to publish in 1950 with The Magician's Nephew, with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That was the first book, followed by Prince Caspian and all those others. So that was essentially the life of C.S. Lewis. He became a professor at Oxford and married another English teacher. And he was very happy during those years until she died in 1960 out of cancer, I believe. And in 1963, he resigned from his job, and shortly after he died peacefully. Now, we can begin talking about this book, and it is the introduction to the Narnia series. It was not the first book to be published. However, when it came out, it gave away. It explained the creation of Narnia. The first book was book 2, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but this came out later in order to explain how that world came to be. And this book focuses on two boys known as Diggory and Polly, who discover some magical rings that Diggory's uncle gives them that they can use to travel to other places. And these rings contain powerful magic, and that takes them to the world between worlds, you could say, the Forest of Worlds, where there are many pools, each of which can take them to a different world. So Diggory and Polly begin to explore these pools and eventually discover two of them. One that takes them to Charn, a destroyed, apocalyptic, dystopic world, and another one that takes them to Narnia, which is just being born. So those are the two principal worlds of this, well, the three principal worlds of this book. You have Narnia, Charn, and Earth. And it is essentially a great introduction to this series. Now we can begin with my review. So, the plot of The Magician's Nephew is, like I said, pretty much the introduction to the Narnia series. It gives us a very detailed explanation of how the world came to be, how it was created, how Aslan sang it into being literally, and it has various parallels with the Bible, with the Genesis story on the Bible. It is a very interesting book. I really like it, and I really enjoy how there are many parallels between Charn, which this is an image of Charn, and Narnia when it is being created. Let me find it, an image of Narnia being created. I cannot. Here it is, an image of Narnia during its first day of life. It's a very interesting creation myth, a very interestingly done story about Narnia and how it was created. I really enjoyed the plot and how it was not only did it have parallels with the Bible, but it also holds parallels between Narnia and Charn, how humans can bring destruction to the world if they are led by sin, and how God created all things good, and all of those things are very interesting. And then you have the apple tree, which is like a representation of the apple of good and evil, of the science of good and evil in the Garden of Eden. It's a very interesting story. I really like how it's designed, and I really enjoy it overall how C.S. Lewis developed it all. Now onto the characters. I believe that both Diggory and Polly and even Jadis, the White Queen, they are all very well developed. They are all very good characters, and now we have to take into consideration that this book is middle grade. It is for children, and thus you do not have as complex characters as you would have, for example, in Game of Thrones or the Stormlight Archive, because these books are meant for children. This also means that, like Harry Potter, it leans a lot more into black and white than grayscale, right? So each character is either good or bad, and they cannot be like in the middle. And this is the prime example is Diggory and Jadis, right? Jadis is like the evil queen. She hates everybody. She wants to take over the world literally twice. And then you have Diggory, whose only objective is to take care of his mother, who is ill. So I really like how these characters are created. I would have enjoyed seeing a little more of the uncle. I believe that he wasn't given as much time to build up as the other characters, so I would have liked to see more of him in the story and get to know him more. And then we discovered that Diggory is the old man that appears in The Witch, the Wardrobe, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He is the old guy who leads the Pevensies into the Wardrobe and into Narnia. It's a very interesting story. I really like how it's done, all the parallels it has with book 2, all the parallels it has with with the Bible and with Charn, between Narnia and Charn, all of those images of good versus evil. And then the narrative. Of course, this book is meant for children, and the way in which C.S. Lewis writes it, it's magnificent. He takes a very limited vocabulary and does pretty much what Dr. Seuss did, like to create, using the basic 3,000 words of English to create just such an interesting story. It's amazing. I really like how it's done, and I don't know, it's a great story, a great narrative, and that's why I will give this book a 77 out of 100. It is a great way to start reading fantasy. Other than Harry Potter, a very good gateway. It's amazing, a very good story, a very Christian story. It's Christian fantasy, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. As you know, I'm Catholic. I really like being one, and this book was one of the books that drove me into my Catholic faith a lot more. Anyway, this has been everything for today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and all the links will be down below for my artist organization, CASA ARTE Mexico, as well as our podcast and the YouTube channels of my friends. Anyway, thank you so much. I will see you later. Bye.